Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. So in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the daily race A for this week, which involves the Mazda Roadsters, MX-5 Miatas, whatever you want to call them, tackling Tsukuba in an 8-lap battle. Now, to be honest, this is a bit of a Gran Turismo classic. Obviously the Roadsters, MX-5s, again, whatever you want to call them, quite heavily featuring in a 4-hour race at Tsukuba over the years, and this is certainly one that kind of brought back a lot of memories and has actually provided a ton of really close racing. So let's have a quick look at the overview. So you've got balance of performance applied. Obviously race 8, it's a specified car, Tsukuba circuit, 8 laps, 12 cars, and it's around about a 15-minute race, which I'd say is a bit too lenient, to be honest. It's around about 10 minutes to do this. No DR and SR updates, so you cannot, gain your rank and such. So we're going to have a look at 3 races that I've done. I did these late last night, and we're going to qualify for P4 for race 1. Now, this was probably the most chaotic of the bunch. We're going to get a pretty poor start, to be quite honest, just missing the first gear, actually. So we're going up into second, the first shift, and I kind of bottled it. However, I have managed to keep myself with the pack, and it's essentially going to be a 6-way battle for the win of this race, to be quite honest, for the majority of the 8 laps. Some really close racing. And again, I think, Tsukuba's small size and the Mazda's small size just allows for some of the best racing I've had in a long time within GT7. It gives you a proper kind of national level or grassroots feeling kind of vibe in terms of the cars that we're seeing, and it's an absolute joy to throw these little Mazdas around. Now, there is a kind of trick to doing it, so it involves, kind of revving it high, but, a lot of throttle lifting to get yourselves through the tighter corners, good exit speeds, keeping it nice and steady, and you will be getting in some decent laps there. So we're coming towards the end of lap 1. As you can see, the pack's pretty much still together, bar a couple of cars that are kind of, drifting off in the back, but even then they are still pretty close. No one's kind of spun off. In terms of the racing that I was having, this was some of the cleanest and closest racing I've had in a long time within Gran Turismo 7. At first I kind of took a look at it and thought, do you know what, yeah, I'm going to enjoy it, but I didn't expect it to actually be as fun as it was. It is a massive shame the DR and SR updates aren't on, because I genuinely think this is some of the cleanest and close battling I have had in a long time in GT7. It was just absolutely incredible, race after race, bumper to bumper, constantly trying to find the the different ways you can tackle that corner to try and give yourself an advantage, or trying to swap lines over to see if you can maybe do a switch over and stuff like that. So it was just absolutely awesome. So as you can see, we've got ourselves right on the bumper here of EK Vic that is just up ahead. However, he's still got a few cars up in front of him, and I think they're just kind of holding him up there. We are going to have a great battle with him in race 2 as well, as the Red Bull liveried Mazda tries to get one up the inside, but again, we're all in each other's slip. So essentially there's 5 cars battling away for position here. I'm going to keep in the slip of EK, and then I'm going to swap to the inside line so we can sort of filter through, kind of 2 at a time. As you can see, the Napa racing on the inside there with me. Antonio's going to get himself across on the inside as well, and this is going to allow us to move up past EK Vic there on the inside, just kind of sliding it through and hoping for the best, and we did get a nice clean move done there. So we're going to go to the outside here, see if we can kind of get a bit of a run out in the slip of Cummins there. As you can see, he's going to be on the inside line, and we're hoping that's going to pull me onto the inside line for this corner coming up here. It's not going to be able to quite be pulled off. Antonio defending that one nice and well. However, he does go very much over the curb there, and that's going to make his car insanely unstable and kick out his rear end. So yeah, a few problems there. He's going to drop a bit of time there. As you can see, still a bunch of cars battling away here. So I think there's 6 up in this pack at current, as we begin to sort of break away from the rest of the field. So again, we've got the Napa Racing leading the way. We're going to go inside this time, as it looks like EK Vic has just gone a little bit deep there, and that's going to allow the Red Bull liveried Mazda to move up through on the inside. So we're going to follow the slipstream. Now, the slipstream isn't too powerful here, but it does do a good job of keeping you with the pack. If you're not running in it and everybody else is, trust me, you will start to drop back then. So we've got a nice little battle there in the background between those two, and we're just going to hang on to the bumper there. We're going to get a bit of a better run out. I'm going to try and keep a tighter line there on Antonio, but we're not going to be able to quite pull that one off yet. So straight back in the slipstream to keep us up. We're going to try it down the inside again. He's going to defend that well, but does almost run into the back of Cummins there, who probably, just saw this Mazda are coming at him unexpectedly there in the rear view mirror. We're going to get it side by side, but you know, it's going to be a bit of jostling for position, no room given there. And then we're going to go into the left-hander now. Antonio's going to overshoot his exit here. As you're going to see, he's going to get himself, you know, kind of powered out the corner and run himself wide and onto the grass. But he is going to get back into the pack. He's going to drop a couple of positions there. So he's gone down to P4. Now he's kind of with the rest of the rear of the pack. As you can see, the leader now got a nice gap going. Obviously, everybody else battling it out. This is going to allow him to put some clean laps in and begin to push and try and get that gap going for himself. So we're going to try and just keep in his slip all the way down the main straight. We do have the Red Bull liveried Mazda. That's obviously caught back up to the back of us there. Again, he's just going to use our slip to push on through as we go into the right-hander to end on lap 4 there. So the Napa racing car massively ahead at this point. We've got a bit of a bad run through that corner, to be quite honest. Losing a bit of time, but it's looking like you know, we've kind of, you know, held that position quite well. No real pressure coming from behind there. It's looking like we've got a bit more of a gap to the Red Bull liveried Mazda at this point. And we're going to begin to try and chase down the Napa Racing liveried Roadster. As you can see, he does have the fastest lap. So currently he's about 3/10 faster than me on his fastest lap so far. So certainly a lot of good laps for him kind of early on. And we're going to try and basically mimic that, see if we can gain any position. We've got a bit of a scruffy exit there, to be quite honest. You can see we're losing time through that sector, and that is going to allow the Red Bull liveried Mazda to get back on our rear bumper as we are going through kind of about halfway through lap 5 at this point. Into the right-hander now. This is one where you can lose a ton of time if you get it wrong. Now I'm going to try and take it a bit wider and hope we get a better run down. This is going to allow the Red Bull liveried Mazda to get alongside us, but to be quite honest, we are going to manage to outrun him. He's going to get straight back into our slipstream. He is going to follow us all the way, but we are still both, you know, jostling for position and losing time to the leader here. So he's able to just have that clear track and set lap after lap as clean as he possibly wants to, and he's going to go through with a nice big gap at this point. So on to the final lap here. We did manage to get the gap down quite a bit, and we did manage to get a bit of a gap to the Red Bull liveried Mazda, but it was just not quite enough. The Napa racing car, much cleaner race. Once, you know, the packer kind of sort of broke out a little bit, he did manage to just run away with it. So we're going to go into the final corner, and in our first race we are going to take P2 in this one. Well done to M. Cummins, absolutely solid race once he got away from the rest of the pack. So we're going to take P2 in our first race, which isn't too bad at all. Much better than I actually expected, and a lot less carnage and some real good clean bumper to bumper racing there. Absolutely loved that race there. So let's go on to race 2. Now this is going to be a bit of a two-way battle for the victory, to be honest. I think in the end we gapped P3 by around about 6 seconds, and it's going to be between myself and EK Vic 9, who obviously we raced in the first video. He did kind of drop off the pack early doors. Antonio's back in again. He's going to try and go around the outside there. We're both going to take an inside line there, myself and EK, and we're both going to get a decent run out. So I'm just hoping that, you know, he can just kind of tow us along, keep us kind of, you know, with himself, and we're going to hopefully just gap the rest of the field, because I know the guy's got pace. Obviously he's on pole, so he's, you know, realistically going to be setting the faster laps of most of the pack here. So as you can see, the rest of the field already battling away, trying to get some moves done. Some door-to-door racing there, as you can see, between Antonio and the Finnish driver just behind. And this is going to allow myself and EK Vic to build up a pretty decent gap already. And once we're out of that slipstream range and they can't really keep with us down the main straight, then it's going to be plain sailing for myself and EK to essentially just battle it out for the rest of the race. So we're going to stay in the slip here. There's no reason to really kind of move out of it. We're just going to stay as close as possible to him as we go into the sweeping right-hander. That is going to then take us back onto the main straight and across the finish line. Now, in terms of getting through here, it can be kind of make or break for your lap. You're going to see what happens to me a little later on, where we're going to lose quite a bit of time. So we're going to go across. Again, we've got a decent gap to Antonio just behind, and all he's realistically got to do is essentially just kind of throw me off EK if he does want to build up a gap for himself. If he kind of, you know, tries to back me up into the rest of the pack, obviously I'm going to then lose time. Trying to, you know, defend positions as well. And yeah, he didn't really try that too much. He was essentially just quite happy, you know, settling in and setting his laps. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty close race between myself and him already. We're starting to put the decent purple sectors in, so really quick laps straight off the bat, to be honest, between myself and EK. We're going to keep it nice and tight. We have dropped off the rear end a little bit, so the gap's, you know, starting to increase, you know, just bit by bit. Again, most of the, you know, overtaking opportunities are all going to be about where you can, kind of gain advantage on that line. So, it depends on your line through the corners. Are you going to go inside? Are you going to try and go deep and get a decent run down the straights? It's all going to be kind of mix and match, really. But we are going to try and follow him as close as possible. So into the right-hander again. He does get a bit of a wobble out there at the rear, and we're going to get a much better time through there this time. And this is going to allow us to close back up. As you can see, EK just running a little bit wide there. I think that may have just been due to the little kind of instability on the rear as he kind of went into the early part of that corner. Into the right-hander again, he's going to go a little bit wide through there. We're going to try and take a nice inside line, and this is going to keep us with him. And as you can see from the rest of the pack, they're just kind of battling away at this point and starting to drop majorly back already on lap 3. So again, we're going to try and go a little bit deeper this time instead of all up the inside, see if we can get a nice run out. We get a little bit of a kick, but we both do, so there's no real advantage to be gained there. So we're 3 tenths down now currently on our fastest lap, so we're actually running more towards the 111s, which isn't great, but we are still managing to maintain that gap to the rest of the field. And again, he's just going to kind of pull me along in a slip, and we're going to try and take advantage of any kind of mishaps or anything for EK. But he's not going to make one. He's going to have a pretty near perfect race, to be quite honest, as we follow him down the straight once again. We do seem to be a little bit closer this time. Again, we're almost on the bumper going into the right-hander. We are still down on the time, so it's looking like he is starting to do a bit of defensive driving, just kind of trying to throw my line off and see if we can make any mistakes. But we're going to stick to him pretty well so far, and then we're going to go into the right-hander once again at turn 1. Now he's going to go a little bit deep. It's looking like he was just going to go straight on there, but he did manage to bring it back around, and again we're just going to stick to him like a fly, really. And then into the left, into the right, and then it's going to be a pretty deep braking zone into this left-hander. There's a ton of time to be made up here if you get it right and your opponent gets it wrong. But like I said, he's going to have a pretty near perfect race into the right-hander, up over the curb slightly. Again, both of us kind of taking a bit of grass with us there, into the left-hander, and this is where we're going to start getting a bit more pacey. It felt like I was just starting to really settle into this race. Obviously, we're not having to worry about anyone behind us. All I've got to do is keep it nice and clean and wait for Vic to make any mistakes, if any, and then we're going to get a bit of a tow down the straight. Now we have fell back a little bit there again, just kind of a bit too deep into that right-hander. It didn't quite work out for us. My hope was that we'd be a lot quicker come the end of the straight, but we are up on our time this time, so we're going to be out of the 111s. That's realistically what we're hoping to do as we go through the right-hander again, just staying in the slip, and we're back into the 110s. Now let's have a look into the left-hander onto lap 5. So we are just beginning to kind of drop back a little bit at this point. We've sort of had a few scruffy laps, to be quite scruffy first sector of the lap, as we begin the midpoint of lap 5. However, we did manage to pick it back up towards the end, although our first sector was what felt really, really bad. For some reason, we just managed to get a very clean mid sector and a very clean last sector, and that's going to bring us to be the first car into the 10.5s, only just though. Again, a lap later, we're going to get ourselves in the 4s, both of us there, beginning to find a lot more pace, getting both the cars into the 10.4s as we go back into the right-hander onto lap 7, and it's going to be still very, very close, but we have managed to reduce that gap once again, so we're going to try and battle it out and try and get some bumper-to-bumper racing going. So again, just a bit of a poor kind of first sector on lap 4 did drop us back, but we have managed after 2 decent laps there to bring it back a little bit. However, it wasn't going to last too long, as at the end of lap 7 we're going to have a very poor exit, and it's going to drop us a ton of time. It just felt really scruffy, and the car moving around, as you can see, we also dropped around about 4 tenths from what the laps that we were setting previously, and that's going to allow us to basically drop back as EK Vic makes 0 mistakes on the final lap through the final corner. He's going to take a very well-deserved win. Some great defensive driving from him, just managing to control the pace of the race, and that's going to be P2 for us as we end up in the 11s this time. So some pretty poor laps last off, just kind of dropping us off the leader there, but a great win for Vic there, so well done to him. So let's get on to the final race, and this is going to be myself on pole this time. So we've moved ourselves up the grid. We managed to get a bit of a decent qualifying lap in, which has finally come to us. We finally got the car into the I believe into the high 9s or something like that. So we're going to go into the right-hander now. It's my turn to essentially control the pace of the race and defend. And straight away, what I want to do, because I know it's pretty difficult to really get a gap built early doors, especially when they're packed together, what I want want to do is essentially just back P2 up into the other drivers and hope they begin jostling for positions, and then realistically that should give me a little bit of a you know, bit of a breathing room and allow us to kind of escape off into the distance. But it's not really going to work like that until around about the midpoint. So we you know, we are maintaining on lap 1 pretty well, beginning to get a tiny bit of a gap up, but nothing really too major. Again, I'm just trying to keep it nice and sort of controlled through these sort of hairpins and such, just to kind of, you know, try and back Magics up into the rest of the pack. But it's not going to quite work out for us straight away. We're going to go into the right-hander here, so here we go. And again, it's all about getting a nice clean exit. If you mess up here, you are risking quite a lot of your lap time, and you're risking a lot of the gap that you've possibly built up. It's the worst place to get a bad run out of. So we're going to go across with an open lap of a 16.606, which isn't too bad. It's a decent opening lap. It was clean enough, and we are still going to have Magics following us right on our bumper all the way through lap 2. As you can see, both of us building up a little bit of a gap to P3 there, as we have another driver that's going to get involved later on, which you will see, the red Mazda. So keep an eye out for him later on in the race. So again, Magic sticking with us. We're going to get a very poor exit there. We've got a little bit of a snap there, and it's going to put us onto the dirt. We did manage to sort of maintain our position through there, but this has allowed Magics to get straight back on the bumper of the car. So once again, we're going to try and keep it nice and controlled, try and slow him down and make this small little car as big as possible. So we're going to hug the inside as much as possible, and then going to have a big run out down the straight. Well, he's going to manage to stick with us there, so we're going to move over and hopefully try and break the slip, but he comes with us, obviously. You will see a lot of these trains going on if I'm controlling the race, because I will try and get that slip broken no matter what. Again, not a perfect lap. Obviously, we're trying to defend for the first position here, so it is going to cost us a bit of time, at least early doors, but we are going to manage to get the pace going a little bit later on. As Flying Kiwi goes through, he is the other driver to keep an eye out for. He is the red Mazda Roadster. Again, Magic sticking with us here, bumper to bumper, just following my line and just waiting for a chance to pounce if we make a mistake. Obviously, there's not many overtaking opportunities. It can only realistically be done, I guess, in a clean way, should I say, if the driver ahead of you is going to make a mistake. So I know I've kind of got that advantage there. All I've got to do is just control the pace of the race, try and back the cars up, but there's a bit of a gap there, so it's not really worth me doing. So at this point, all I want to do is just try and break away from Magics and just, you know, possibly try and you know, get that slip broken. But again, he's going to stick with us there. As you can see, he goes inside and then outside. He's going to get a bit of a slip out of the corner, but he controls it nice and well. So the gap's still not massive, but we are starting to build a bit of a gap up to him there. So again, looking like that slip cost him a bit of time down the straight. We don't have to defend as harshly into the right-hander, and as you can see, the gap's just a little bit more at this point. So again, hopefully get a good exit here. That's where a lot of the time can be lost or made, as Magic gets it nice and wide there, and we keep it more up to the curb there. So on to lap 4, around the midway point of the race. We're going to again keep it nice and inside. Magic's going a little bit deeper as we have one of the cars going off there, and that's going to allow Flying Kiwi to essentially break away from battling and get his pace put down and begin to catch myself and Magic's. Again, all I'm going to do is just try and control the pace, and if I know Flying Kiwi gets on the back of Magic, well, obviously I'm going to try the tactic of beginning to back him up. But we have managed to build up a little bit of a gap here, so this is realistically the part of the race where I'm trying to break away, hopefully get, you know, some good clean laps in. But again, it only takes one poor lap, and essentially that will allow Magics to close back up that gap and probably allow Kiwi to get involved again as well. As you can see, he's already starting to he's broke away from the rest of the pack and he's already starting to gain on the back of Magics there. So again, we're sort of evenly spread out as we go into the right-hander, the final corner. Like I said, get it wrong here and it can be all over. So we're going to fly into the right. We've gone purple to blue now, so obviously we're not on as fast a lap as we possibly could want, but we are going to try and get it up across the line, and we are going to take fastest lap for a bit at least. So we're the first car into the 5s there, so a 5.58 fastest lap, so we are still the fastest car on track currently. I think a lot of that was to do with Flying Kiwi having that bit of an off with the other car early doors, but it is looking like it's beginning to get back onto this pack here. Again, we've managed to kind of break away enough that this slip's going to be almost non-existent, but it only takes a bit of a poor lap, and that is, like I said, going to allow him to gain back on us. And again, we've gone purple through sector 1, so we are at least a 10th up on our fastest lap. We did go purple through there on the previous lap as well, so you know, we are pretty much flying at this point at a decent pace. Obviously we've got clear track ahead of us. We're beginning to kind of set some decent laps in the middle part of this race. It's not going to last forever though. It's going to kind of, you know, drop off a little bit later on. We're going to have some pretty, you know, not great laps towards the end, put it that way, and it is going to allow Magix and both Flying Kiwi to get back on the back of us. So with 2 temps purple, this time was only blue through there last time, into the right hander. Are we going to get a decent exit? Again, you can lose a ton of time there if you get it wrong. We're going to get it up on the curb, and we're going to go to a 10.3. However, Flying Kiwi is quite literally a Flying Kiwi currently, as he goes with a 110.1. So he's doing a great job there. On to lap 7 then. We've had a pretty poor lap 6, as you can see, almost a second slower, so 8 tenths slower than our fastest lap. It was absolutely dreadful, and as you can see, it has cost us a ton of time on the road and allowed both Flying Kiwi and Magix to, you know, get that gap back and you know, begin to close up. And again, we are still nearly 2 tenths down through sector 1 there, so we're having a pretty poor later stage of the race here, as Magix managed to close that gap up nice and easily once again. Like I said, if you start having some pretty poor laps, they are going to close up on you, and that's exactly what Magix has done there. And Flying Kiwi has now been brought into the battle. All he's got to do is stay in the slips and push it as hard as he can. Obviously he is essentially the fastest car on track, and I'm pretty sure his laps were consistent as well. So here we go, 2 more times we've got to tackle this last corner. Again, it's kind of a make or break corner. Get it wrong and you're going to know about it. So into the right hander we go, a little dab of the brakes on the way in. On the exit, it's a nice clean exit, but Magix is managing to stick with us as we go into the final lap. He got a much better run out. As you can see, another, you know, pretty average lap at 10.7 there. So not as fast as we need to be. Obviously we was down in the 3s and the 5s earlier, and then we've kind of gone back to sort of our lap 2 and 3 pace there. So, you know, again, Magix has got the momentum here. He's going to try it up the inside. He's going to have a bit of a look, should I say, but I think realistically he knew he wasn't going to get that one pulled off. However, we do get a pretty poor exit out, and we're just managing to keep it ahead here, but that is going to throw off our line into the right hander, so it's going to allow us to go a little bit deeper than we usually should. We do manage to rescue that one pretty quite well. It could have gone absolutely terribly into the right hander here, so all 3 cars now battling for position. Again, all I'm trying to do is just slow Magix up through these corners, but he does have a quick look up the inside. Again, the slipstream not too powerful, so realistically all I've got to do is cover off the right hander on the final corner and not get it wrong, and that should allow us to take the win. So here we go, over to the left, back into the right again, but all 3 cars are battling away, and we are pretty much going to get it spot on this time. So we are going to manage to defend that position, and we are going to take the win in race 3 out of 3. And I just want to give a big thank you to Magix and Flying Kiwi for the fantastic race. As you can see, P4 all the way back there, and he just crossing the line. Absolutely awesome race. It was great to just have that chance to defend and, you know, do a different strategy to actually chasing down the other cars. So yeah, thanks to those 2. So there we have it. That is another daily race covered. Absolutely love this one this week. Really just kind of bring back those memories of those, you know, sort of 4-hour Mazda races at Tsukuba. Great track to race these cars on, some proper close and clean racing, and I fully recommend, you know, checking this one out. Even though the DRNSR isn't on, I've been finding that the racing here has been clean as a whistle. Yeah, massively enjoying this one. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and turn your notifications on so you don't miss an upload from me. I upload GT7 and motorsport related content each and every day for your viewing pleasure. A big thank you to Poggers and the controller people for their continued support, and a massive thank you to my channel members for their, you know, kind donations towards the channels, as I begin to kind of, you know, figure out some more perks for those guys in the coming months. If you do want to become a channel member, don't forget you can do, and I will try and make it as worth your while as possible. And yeah, I'll have my Twitter, my Discord and my donation link down in the description below, and I will see you all later on. Have a fantastic day, guys. Peace.